Time now is 4 p.m. We'll call this meeting to order. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, everyone. Patty, will you take roll call, please?
Gary.
Here.
Deb.
Here.
Ray. Don.
Here.
Todd.
Here. Commissioner Epp did call me and will not be able to attend today due to a family emergency. Want to welcome guests, visitors, media here today. Microphone's working. Make sure all commissioners got the commission. There we go. Good. So I want to welcome guests, visitors. I do want to remind everyone, if they have a cell phone, please turn it to silent so it doesn't interrupt any of the speakers. Also, in the back of the room on my left, your right, next to the light switch is a sign-in sheet for the public comment portion of the meeting, which is at the end of the meeting. If there's something on the agenda and you want to speak on that, you don't need to sign in, but if there's something you want to talk about that is not on the agenda, you can speak just sign in on the back there, and we will take those comments at the end of the meeting. Has the commissioners had a chance to review the agenda today, and is there any conflict of interest financial?
I have no financial conflict.
No financial.
I don't think so.
I don't either. Next is any non-financial interest conflict. Must state the reason to abstain on any of the items.
No,
None for me.
non-financial. I think so.
All right, neither do I. Any additions or changes for today's agenda?
I'd just like to make a comment that there's a birthday today and we need to celebrate. 71 years ago today, Harry S. Truman signed the papers for the creation of the United States Air Force.
Thank you. Any other, do you want to add that, or you just want to make that statement
Yeah,
here?
I'd like that put into the record if you would, please.
Okay. Any other additions or changes to the agenda? I do want to touch briefly on at the end of the meeting, just the Commissioners' Conference in Pierre that several of us attended last week. Just kind of give an update on some of the things we learned. So, if there are no other additions or changes, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as modified.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Has everyone had a chance to review the September 4th and 7th meeting minutes? And Patty, can we do this in one motion or two? Two motions? So let's start with the September 4th meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review those minutes? Any questions or any changes?
Move approval of the meeting minutes for September 4th.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Everyone had a chance to review the September 7th special meeting minutes we had. And is there any additions or corrections to that? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion.
Move approval of the September 7th commission meeting minutes.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Since Commissioner Bodenstedt wasn't there, she cannot second that. Gary, did you want to second that?
No.
I'll second the September 7th meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Gary, did you vote?
I did.
I'm sorry, you did not or did?
I did. I'm sorry.
I didn't hear your voice.
Yeah.
Please use the microphone so everyone can
We're
hear
getting a
you.
little closer here.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is claims. Has everyone had a chance to review the claims? Any questions on the claims? If there are no questions on the claims, I entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the claims as submitted.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next in the agenda is for Patty, authorized to advertise for budget supplement.
It is for the jail building in the amount of the $178,000, and that is just the work he's done on the jail, the repair, improvements.
Those are the things we discussed last meeting, I believe.
Yeah, there's a wash machine, security upgrades, and some other repairs, and this money actually comes out of the capital fund that's been set aside. Am I correct, Patty?
Correct, there's dollars in there, it's just, we don't budget for it, so we need a budget to spend that money.
So we need to advertise for a budget supplement for the jail building at $178,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'd entertain a motion.
We can
Oh.
do it together.
Oh, wait, Ann?
On the second one. You should have that in your packets.
Okay.
Second budget sub.
And then budget supplement number 2 is in regards to the TIF financing, where Dakota Plains has agreed to pay the difference between taxes received and the amount due. So we'll need to supplement the budget by $208,981.37. Is that correct?
Yes,
And that'll be received from, the difference will be received from Dakota Plains and then transferred and paid into on the loan, correct?
yes.
Oh, and Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we authorize the advertisement for budget supplement in the amount of $386,981.37.
And you need 2 separate line items, don't you, Patty?
What is that for?
That's the two of them added together. You said we were going to do them together.
Oh, yes. I
Can
did.
you,
No, I'll separate, I have to separate them, each amount.
All right, so I'll make a motion, rescind my recommendation and modify it to say, recommend we approve authorization to advertise for budget supplement for $178,000 for the jail. And, can I do both of them then? And $208,981.37 for the
TIF.
TIF.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to point out, so it's very clear in the press that since many citizens have expressed a misunderstanding about the payment of the Napa Junction, that this action here is an action by Dakota Plains that's making the entire payment that's due current.
And I might point out that taxes that were received on that property were $125,368.63. That goes towards the payment of the TIF, and the difference is the $208,981.37. So that's what Dakota Plains will pay on this one.
Any other comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the surplus of the 2001 Ford ambulance. Any questions on this? Recommendations in our packet from
Steve Hawkins.
our ambulance administrator, Steve Hawkins. If there are not, I entertain a motion to surplus the vehicle.
I move we surplus the vehicle per Hawkins' request.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
This is towards the purchase of the new ambulance, so this is a trade-in value.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is our consent agenda, which has department reports from the ambulance department, auditor treasurer, mental illness report, pooled cash, register of deeds, sheriff's office, veteran service, and welfare. Also on the consent agenda, there's 2 entrance applications, Mushkin House and Coster, and there's a right-of-way application for Golden West. Any of these items need to be pulled from the consent agenda and discussed? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move we approve the consent agenda. I do, however, have the questions on the VA report.
Then we need to pull the VA report out.
Okay.
So we'll remove the veterans, when you say VA, you mean Veteran Service Officer, correct?
Yes.
So we're going to pull the Veteran Service Office report out of the consent agenda and discuss that after the consent agenda is approved. Is there anything else we need pulled out of the consent agenda? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda without the Veteran Service Office report. Don, is that still your motion?
Yes.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second, hit by Deb. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Don, Veteran Service Office report.
I just see in that report that there was a comp time used for vacation. I think that's the first time I've seen that. Patty, who tracks that and how's that?
It's just on his time card that is presented.
What is
He must have worked some overtime and used that also with his,
Comp time is just,
Okay.
he worked overtime.
instead of getting
Extra
paid
hours,
overtime,
yeah.
it gets comp time. And
Okay. No questions?
any other questions on the Veteran Service Office report? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the Veteran Service Office report.
I move approval of the Veteran Service Officer report.
Second.
A motion, there's a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is a 2019 annual budget. Patty?
And you have them in your packet, and the changes were, the 5,000 for the Yankton Transit, and then the DOT loan for Dakota Plains, 335,000.
Okay. Do we make adjustments in regards to E911 from last meeting?
No, we did not put that in there. We can just add that in, plus 400,000, right?
If I remember right, was it paying
Extra 400.
200 in 2019 and 200 in 2020? Is that, if I remember correctly? Let me look at the minutes.
The original budget was the 227 plus 400,000 for the E911.
We didn't split that payment up over two? No. Okay.
Both to be made though in year 2019, one at
Correct.
the beginning, one at the.
That's right, that's correct.
Say that again.
The regular budget will be throughout the year. The 400 will, I
Two-
think they do that at twice.
One at the beginning of the year and one at the end of the year.
One at
Yeah.
the end of the year.
I knew we split it up, I just couldn't remember the specifics. Thank you. Don?
With the addition of the 400,000.
So why don't you restate those additions, Patty, once you get that noted, so we're all on the same page. So 400,000 E911,
335 for the Dakota Plains payment.
and that's on the
And-
TIF.
Yes, and 5,000 for the Yankton Transit.
Any questions from the commission?
We don't have anything in there for this MSAC.
We're going to speak on that today.
Yeah, it's kind of after the fact, isn't it?
Not necessarily.
Okay. No, then I don't have any other questions.
If you do, if you decide to, you can always supplement next year. Or make it in the beginning of the year.
And this needs to be approved
Today.
today?
Today.
Yes.
Any other questions on the 2019 annual budget? If not, I entertain a motion with the noted changes.
I make a motion that we approve the 2019 budget with the noted changes.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
A second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, Mr. Morris, revenue bond request hearing. It's just a continuation from the last meeting, and has anything really changed since we last got together?
No, Mr. Chairman. Toby Morris with Dakota Protein. What we have before you is a resolution that you've seen. Prior to that, as a follow-up, maybe just the highlight real quickly is, once again, the county is acting as a conduit. There's no liability. In this resolution, it'll state, I want to point out specifically that we have $8 million in here is what is authorized. Even though we say it's a $15 million project, we have to fall within the IRS rules that you can only issue up to so much per year. So we segregate, or they call it bifurcated, the loan out. So this is just specifically for the land, the building, and the equipment within inside the building. On page 2, just as a highlight, it says these bonds, even though we call them bonds, they're special limited obligations of the county. The only obligation you have is really to authorize it. It's directly between the lender, the bank, and the borrower, which is Dakota Protein. And so this is the first step to formally get it going. After this, it'll be published in the paper. If there's concerns, anything with the constituents, always my number's available. We'll handle that and take care of that. But as a follow-up, like I said, it's a conduit to do economic development in the state, and I think it's going to be a very powerful tool going forward, not only for us, but for other ventures, hopefully, that locate out in the industrial park.
Toby, they got, financing's already been secured in place by a bank? for
Correct.
this?
Yep. We have full credit approval from American Bank and Trust.
Other questions for Toby from the commission? For no other-
You answered everything I was going to ask about using liability for the county.
Mhm.
And this will be effective immediately, and you can move forward.
Yeah, if anybody's been out there, you can see we've started to turn a little bit of dirt. Hopefully have the steel on the ground here within 60 days is the plan. Get the footings going, and really want to be operational by April, May.
Mr. Morris, you said you were going to pay your people about $38,000 a year, is that correct? Like $18.50 an hour?
We're looking at right in that, and much higher with benefit package.
Do you know what the medium amount of income for Yankton County is? It's about $48,000 a year.
Duly noted.
Yeah. So, just hypothetically, you get somebody that's got a wife and 2, 3, 4, 5 kids she can't work. Got an old car, maybe they'll be downstairs looking for food stamps. Is that a possibility?
I guess Mr. Chairman pointed the conversation here.
I wanna jump in here.
I'm not finished yet, Mr. Kettering.
Finish it up.
Finish it up? Oh, well, do I have a time limit?
Mr. Swenson,
Oh, thank you.
can you stay on point, please?
Well, I'm just curious because I'd like to see economic growth for Yankton, but I'd like to see some really good paying jobs, and I don't see any guarantee with your company. You said you worked a little bit of shift work, and you're not going to be the manager down here. You live in Sioux Falls. Do you plan to move down here later on?
I guess, Mr. Chairman, I'm here to discuss the resolution, and
Duly noted.
Well,
In regards
I'm
to,
here for the betterment
Mr. Swenson,
and to
Mr. Swenson.
answer questions for the constituents.
Mr. Swenson,
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
in regards to salaries and payroll, the state has a set minimum wage. We do not have authority as commissioners of Yankton County to set minimum wages
I wasn't
for.
setting a minimum wage for him. I'm just telling him that the median wage for Yankton County is $48,000 a year.
Noted.
And he's gonna pay about $38,000. Isn't that correct?
for certain positions.
Yeah, for certain positions, yeah.
And if they can't fill those positions, that is up to the business to make their salary, not Yankton County.
I'm just curious, because there was a company down in the city.
Mr. Chairman, I
just
call the
finished.
question.
Is there a
Call the
second?
question.
Second.
We have to call the question.
Yeah.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the
Well,
resolution.
time out. I do want to open up
Okay.
for public comment.
I retract.
Is there anyone like to speak in regards to the revenue bond request from Dakota Protein? Please approach and state your name.
Kathy Weiss. My question is, who's the borrower?
Mr. Chairman, we, the company, is the borrower.
Dakota Protein?
Dakota Protein.
Who's Yankton Protein? Because the resolution says Yankton
Correct.
Protein is the borrower.
Correct.
So who's Yankton Protein?
There are the owners of the building who would be Yankton Protein that leases it to Dakota Protein. It's still under the full guarantees of the company and the individuals of the company. So it's just separate for the IRS to make certain that we have the tax exempt financing on the building, the taxable financing on the equipment. And so that's why it was broken out into two LLCs, same ownerships. It's not the county, the liability completely falls under Dakota Protein, and that's the name that you'll see on the building.
So the one paper said that Lloyd Company owns Yankton Protein.
They will be leasing the building to Dakota Protein.
Okay,
Yep. So,
all right.
Thank you.
Good question.
Any other public comment?
Patty Gramco. So they're getting a tax-free loan, and what about the taxes?
So we discussed at the last meeting, this is not a tax-free loan. They still pay property taxes.
How much? Do they pay 100%, or do they pay
They pay-
20% and then the next year 40?
100.
Went up.
Every year? So
So
there's
if
a
you
lot
look-
of entities that you can go through to get loans. There's still consequences for the county.
There is no consequences to the county. This is financed
Can I have, that's on the record, correct? There's no consequences for the county.
multiple times. It's not taxpayer dollars. So. Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment at this time. Any other comments amongst commissioners? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this until 2019.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of second. I entertain a motion on the revenue bond.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve Resolution 18, Tax 6, a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of the Yankton County Economic Development Revenue Bonds, Dakota Protein LLC Project, Series 2018, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $8 million, and approving and authorizing other actions in respect thereto.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? I will state that when we have economic development, it keeps our taxes lower. Here's a tool that doesn't cost any taxpayer dollars. We'll have a $15 million facility that'll pay property taxes and they'll pay off the TIF quicker. 100% of their property taxes, there's not a discretionary on this one. To me, it makes perfect sense to maximize this because this money comes from the federal government and is allocated state by state. South Dakota, I believe Mr. Morris has testified, is allocated 300 million this, for, how much was that?
308.
308 for 2019, where states like Ohio is allocated 1.1 billion, and there's a waiting list. They use their money every year. To me, this makes perfect sense to help bring economic growth. Any other comments from the commission? Hearing none, roll call, Patty.
Deb,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Gary,
No.
Todd,
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
All right, next item on the agenda, Jim, mosquito abatement program.
Hello,
Good afternoon.
I'm here just to briefly discuss the county's mosquito abatement program. Every year, we send out contracts to all the towns in the county. They return them if they want our services. Mosquito abatement consists basically of larviciding and fogging. On average, we're between 4 and 6 hours every week that we spend out spraying. It may be more. The reason I'm here now is because of what happens when the city of Yankton requests fogging. We still continue to do the smaller towns that can't handle it themselves. When the city of Yankton requests fogging, we have to schedule 3 nights. We usually run from sunset till about midnight, which is the most effective times. It absolutely crushes us. I mean, we flex our time out, so it takes time off from our regular day jobs at the weed department to get this done. Also, they request fogging for riverboat days, fireworks, something going on at Memorial Park. It's just a kind of a constant thing. The reason I'm here is because I'm looking for the board's permission to not include Yankton from now on with our contracts. I spoke to the city at the beginning of the year. I've kind of been mentioning it to them over the years, but it's a good deal for them. I mean, everything we do is at cost or lower because I also apply for grants. I spoke to the city earlier and told them that I wanted to pursue them taking over their own mosquito abatement program. This would be at essentially no cost to Yankton, since, I mean, they would have to pay their drivers just like they pay my drivers. They'd have to pay for their chemicals just like I pay for mine. They would get the lion's share of any grants the state has to offer. Possibly the only cost involved would be equipment, and it would be a partial cost because of the grants. So essentially, I want to pass the torch to Yankton. I think it would be a better program for both the county and the city. Hopefully, if the city does take over their own program, the citizens would be better served too. The way it stands right now, we may do the entire city once or twice a year. We do the larviciding out at the golf course for all the ponds. I just think they're being underserved, and it would be better for them to take control of it.
Jim, refresh our memory, how many are in the weed department?
There's two
I mean,
of us.
certainly in
It's a 2-person department.
and you two are covering the entire county and the cities, the small towns.
Yes. They aren't fun days.
Do people pay for your services? Do the small
Yes.
towns pay for your services?
Yep. We do it at cost. We try and figure it as close to cost as possible. I apply for grants and then divvy it up depending on who gets sprayed, so it's fair.
Do the grants pretty much cover your costs?
They cover a lot of them, yes. It varies from year to year. It depends on how much money the state has, but The total right now is somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000.
And Yankton's paying the same equitable share that all the other small towns
Yes,
are.
yes. So the only thing this would do, like I said, is basically give them the torch on taking care of their own problems with mosquitoes. I'm hoping that they'll go after it and be a little bit more involved with it. Right now, like I said, I think it's underserved. The number of times that we do spray in Yankton, in my opinion, probably isn't enough. We're not covering enough events, but we cover a lot.
Is there any other spraying in Yankton besides what you provide?
No, ma'am. Not that I'm aware of. I've also, like I said, I've informed the city of my intentions. I also offer any help, training, anything that they need to get up and going. It won't be difficult for them.
If the city would take on their own opportunity like this, and is there a way to partner with them in regards to getting chemical to help keep costs down?
Well, for the last 3 years, I've had my vendor stop in and visit with them, and that's all purchased off a state contract, so it's as good a pricing as you can get.
Okay. Any other questions for Jim?
I'm having a little trouble understanding why we do the small towns and we wouldn't do Yankton, other than it's
Well,
a heavy workload for you.
that's the biggest part.
But they're taxpayers to the city.
Yes.
And I'm assuming you're talking the lake area and all around.
No, city limits,
Nobody does the federal boys.
no.
Okay.
No, it's just the city. We're all taxpayers, but it's not a plus or minus as far as I can see. It's just moving who does it.
Jim, you're doing the mosquitoes, but you're also doing any noxious weeds and everything else as well.
That's our day job, yes.
So there's two of you doing weed control, mosquito abatement,
Right.
and probably a few other things that I'm probably oversimplifying.
We do a lot, actually.
Has there been any discussion, and I don't know if you know, Mr. Chairman, but is there any discussion about perhaps a city employee augmenting your staff? I mean, would there be a problem with a city employee driving the truck?
Not necessarily with me. I guess that would be up to you. I mean, I wouldn't offer it to them without permission to do that either.
I think that would be an easy.
Other than the fact that they may be using that mosquito.
I think there's a lot of logistics involved with that.
Well, and
It's
that's
something that could be pursued and discussed.
That's what the whole thing is. I mean, if you want me to go into a little bit more detail about what happens is when events come along, I may or may not get a notice. I may get a call the day before, and then I have to juggle my schedule to try and work it in or say no. But usually we work them in. It would be just better handled if they did a city this size. It's the only one I know of in the state that is handled this way. Most larger towns or cities handle their own mosquito abatement program. I mean, they're entitled to everything that our department is as far as what's offered from the state and government.
I know, Jim, you and I talked right before Riverboat Days, like Thursday and before, and I know you guys were down there spraying on Wednesday.
Right.
The day before, we talked, and with the wet summer we had, you probably could be spraying, I think you told me, every day during Riverboat Days, and it's still how this works, the treatment. The mosquitoes actually have to fly through.
Right,
the
it only, when we're fogging, it's only killing mosquitoes while the fog is in the air and they have to fly through it. We don't use anything that lays around on the ground or on the leaves and kills them on contact. They have to move through it. So it's typically, it may be good for 72 hours or alleviate the problem for 72 hours, which is why we're out every week.
Other questions for Jim?
When you have to work those nights, I'm assuming you do this, what are your regular hours at night when you do this?
Sunset till about midnight are the effective times. Anytime after that, we'd be just spinning our wheels.
So do you then plan for one of you not to be working during the day so you can work the night shift? Is
No.
that how it works? You just-
Not generally. It depends on the time of year. I mean, I could possibly do that, but the time of year that we're busiest in the weed department is also the time of year that we're busiest with mosquito spraying. I mean, we may occasionally flex our week out or work our week. Right now, we work the same hours as the highway department. They're 10-hour days. Depending on the workload, we may cut our days shorter and add a Friday in or whatever's needed to get the job done. It depends on what the weather brings, if it gets too hot for us to spray too quick, rain, which has been, this year's been just crazy.
So is that overtime hours?
No.
Jim, you and I have talked about this probably 3 or 4 times in the last 2 months. Ideally, it'd be nice to be able to provide that service, but I think you hit the nail on the head. You're stretched really thin, and I think it'd be better served for Yankton to do it on their own.
And that's my concern is I live in Yankton, I'm a taxpayer in Yankton. We would be better off with someone in Yankton controlling it, doing it, not having to go through the emails and yes, no, scheduling it, trying to get it going. It'd just be a better program that way.
I concur.
Any other questions or comments for Jim?
Well, I think if we're gonna change this, you need to, the commission needs to visit with the city manager to ensure that they understand that this is an issue of collaboration based on workload.
Have you had that discussion with city staff?
I spoke with Adam Haberman, the Public Works Director, and he's spoke with everyone else, I assume, by the sounds of it. We've been in communication.
So if they said they'll take it over, I guess that's the question. If they've said they'll take it over, then we're wasting our time talking, I guess.
Well, we do a contract with every city in the county every year. And I guess Jim's just doing the notification.
Well, notification, I need your permission. I discussed it with Rob on legalities, and he said everything's good.
I have no objections. Don or Gary, do you have any objections?
No.
I just think we need to collaborate with them to make sure it's a smooth transition. I'm not suggesting that you haven't done that, Jim.
We can do that. I want to make sure they get notification in time so they can get set up and running and we can get everyone trained and whatever. But, I mean, I'm willing to meet with anyone on this and discuss it.
Are you done spraying this year?
No, I'm shooting for October 3rd.
We need a frost though.
Well, need temperatures to drop below 50, at which time I will cease. But also I'm going to go on vacation, so.
Understand. Well, I think there's no objections, just coordinate with the city and make sure it's a seamless transition.
Will do.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda, the Highway Department.
Yes.
A couple of them. Brian and Adam, I'll let you, you want to start with Johnson Bridge, since it's been the most pressing need right now?
Yeah, we'll start with, I'm gonna start with change order number 2 for the Johnson, or excuse me, for all 3 preservation projects, if I could.
Thank you.
need an extra a copy for the book over there too, Adam.
So change order number 2 for the preservation projects for all 3 bridges. This is Stone Church Bridge, Jamesville Bridge, and Johnson Bridge. Change order number 1 was for the first halves of all 3 bridges, and this is for the spall repair on the decks. Change order number 2 is for the second halves of all 3 bridges for the spall repair on the decks. And this is just the fluctuations from the estimated quantities in our plans to what was actually installed. I think both change orders were pretty close to the same price.
So I see a total in change order number 2 of, for all 3 projects, $35,503.49.
Yep. And change order number 1 was $32,308.28.
How are we doing on funds? I know we initially said we're gonna be under budget. We
We
still
are,
have big grant funds available. How are we sitting right now?
we are still under all 3 of them,
Under budget in all 3?
yes.
Any questions for Adam on the change order number 2? So you'll need a motion to approve change order number 2, correct?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Bowenstein's got a little cough right now. We'll wait for her to get back to proceed. Any questions from the commission on change order number 2? Just to quick refresh. You know, you're right.
None of the change orders have any impact on correcting the faults that have been noted.
Correct.
She's got one. Say that again, Don, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
I asked if any of the change orders had any impact in any way on the faults that had been noted, and the answer was no.
So in regards to change order number 2, is there any other questions?
Approval of change order number 2.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Deb? Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of change order number 2 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next up is application for payment number 6. So the reason we had to pull out application for payment number 6 is to do this change order first. Now that we have the change order in place, we can act on application for payment number 6.
So give us a little summary on what this is meaning. That way the audience can hear as well what this means.
So application for payment number 6, the big, I guess, prices on this are the polymer chip seals on all 3 bridges. I think this may be one of the bigger applications we've had. And there, also in this application for payment number 6 is the overages that we just covered for change order number 2.
So that chip seal you're talking about, is that the same type of chip seal we've seen on the bridge over here on Broadway over there by about 8th and Broadway, is that the type I'm looking at, or is that a different? Or even over here on the new bridge going across the river, is that?
I haven't seen them, but I'm pretty sure they're the same.
The same contractor performed that work up on, over Martin Creek. I'm not sure who the contractor was.
That's the same chip seal we're talking about, so.
Yep.
As I've driven to Pier last week and lately going across some of these bridges, you see the same type of chip seal. It's similar to that. I'm just kind of trying to visualize what it's not just our red rock and oil on this. This is a different type of chip seal on this, correct?
Right. Yep.
So when you say this was the largest application, what do you mean?
Dollar amount. The 178,000.
Mm-hmm.
Usually they're down in below 100,000, but they did all 3 polymer chip seals during this application period.
And there's been 5 other payments prior to this one.
Correct.
Are they all about 178,000?
No, they're all usually smaller.
Like how small?
They range from, if you look on, I believe it is the last page of application for payment number 6 at the top.
Maybe you could just go through, like payment number 1 was how much?
It's on the back
2 was
page.
how much?
Payment number 1 was 95,424.43.
And number 2?
76,469.54. Number 3 was 36,489.61. Number 4 was 53,142.15, and number 5 was 74,296.39.
So you got a grand total of how much so far?
On the very right, it says 335, 822 and 12 cents.
And then you would add 178, 175 for this one.
And these are for all 3 bridges.
All 3 bridges.
And these were all covered at least 80% by the big grant,
Correct.
which were 880,000, I believe, thereabouts.
That's what we were awarded.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions on this change, not change order, correct?
Application for payment.
Application for payment number 6. Any questions from the commission for Adam? You need a motion to approve this, correct? Or is this part of the, when we receive bills at the next meeting, or?
I think we can have a motion.
Okay.
Okay. I entertain a motion on application for payment number 6. We
Approval of Payment number 6.
have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. And next.
Next up, I would like to give an update on the Johnson Bridge. We have finished our retrofit design for the crack splice welds. We will be putting plates on either side of the web, on the bottom of the girder and on top of the girder. We were going to try to not do the top of the girder if possible, so we didn't cut out part of the deck and the new polymer chip seal that we just put on, but that was not possible. That will add time and cost to this retrofit design. So our design is done. We are now putting it all on paper, and we'll be sending it to the contractor hopefully by the end of the week so they can start their change order.
So how fast can we get this done, and when we get the numbers and information? And we can get that bridge is too vital to sit, and I know you know that because you guys have been working really hard and working on holiday weekends as well. I know you guys understand that. But how can we get this done as quickly as possible?
One thing we could entertain is declaring this an emergency. This will help us expedite the process of getting this repaired as soon as possible. I do not have a good handle on how much time it's actually going to take
What
yet.
advantages does declaring it an emergency give?
If we declare it an emergency, we do not have to follow the bid laws. which the bid laws state if it was just a standalone project, anything over $50,000, estimated cost would have to go out for bids. Since we already have a project on this, the bid laws state $75,000 is the maximum change order for any unbid prices, which this would constitute as an unbid price. And right now, talking with the DOT, they're estimating about $50,000 per splice. We have 3 of them, so we're over that $75,000 threshold. Declaring it an emergency will, we don't have to go through that bidding process, and we'll be able to utilize the contractor for these 3 projects who does this kind of work too.
And when would they have it done?
They said they would fit it into their schedule as soon as we can get them our design.
But
And hopefully, I mean,
I don't need to know a date certain that they'll have it done. Is it 2 weeks, 5 weeks?
I'm thinking it's more along 2 months before
Adam,
this is
I
done.
talked to you on the phone, you told me about mid-November, didn't you?
Yeah, that's my rough guess.
Yeah.
How can we expedite this as fast as possible? The declaration of emergency.
And that, and
Do
we're
we need to
working
have-
as,
Do we need to have a meeting between meetings to do any approvals? I want to make sure we get this done as quickly as possible.
we could have meetings, between meetings, as soon as I get a price from the contractor, I'll let Mr. Gusted know. And depending on when that is, if it's, a week before the next meeting, we could hold a special meeting to approve that change order, which will allow them to work right away.
Do you guys work 40 hours a week, 50, 60, weekends, holidays?
They usually work about 10 to 12-hour days, and they will work Saturdays. But I can't,
That's the contract.
That's the
It's not
contractor.
Clark Engineering.
and we've been working on it every day since. We're meeting our schedule that I gave you guys last week. The DOT has been on board, and I think we need their approval for this change order too, because we're using the grant money. They've indicated that they'll turn it around as quickly as possible also.
So if we did a declaration for emergency repairs, that just speeds the process up. We still have to approve the change order, correct? So
Correct.
you come in with whatever the repairs are, we still have to approve that.
Correct.
Say that your estimate is accurate, but I'm not holding you to it until we know for sure. Where does that set us in regards to the bridge improvement grant? How much out of pocket above and beyond the 20% are we gonna have to make sure we have?
I think roughly right now with this change order number 2, I think the Johnson Bridge, out of the 3, the Johnson Bridge had the most left. I think we're 100,000 roughly grant amount that we have left. So if my estimate is true, you'd be paying 50,000 out of pocket.
And we've already budgeted up to, we already budgeted full anyway, so it'd be an extra 30,000 above budget. Is that?
Yes, it'd
For
be,
paying.
if, for rough numbers, say we have 100,000 left of the grant.
Yeah.
Of that 100,000, you'd be paying 20%, which is what you guys have budgeted with the grant. So that 50,000 is in addition.
Okay.
Hopefully I'm clear on that.
These are rough numbers for now, but. Questions for Adam?
I appreciate the hard work you put into it, and dealing with constituents or public is difficult sometimes, and I appreciate your being a good steward and a good representative of your company.
Thank you.
From a legal standpoint, is there anything that we have to do to,
Talking federal stuff, that's beyond my expertise. If Rob's looked at it, we didn't talk about it before today's meeting, so I don't have anything to offer you there.
And Patty, you
And I
did.
did talk to
Yeah.
legislative about it, and yes, it's fine, if you declare it an emergency.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? If not, I'd entertain a motion on declaration of emergency repairs to Johnson Bridge. Is that stated correctly?
I'll make a motion that we approve the emergency repair declaration for Johnson Bridge.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Hold on, just to be politically correct, we maybe should state the structure number.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
68-134-120.
Dash 120?
Yes, sir.
So that's 68-134-120.
All right, I'll modify my recommendation to approve emergency repair declaration for structure 68, TAC 134, TAC 120.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That is all I had on the bridge side.
Thank you.
I know we have Fleets Bridge on the agenda for today, but I know we talked about the priorities of Johnson Bridge. Where are we at from more level history on Fleets Bridge in the last 2 weeks that you can maybe just update the audience on, the commissioners on?
So I think it was the last time, September 4th meeting, I presented the new load rating, which came to be a single unit, 24 tons, combination, 33 tons. That's where we stand right now.
Discussion's been brought up multiple times is the different types of formula measurement tool preferred versus the other method. How fast can you get us information on Fleet Bridge in regards to that? We have harvest coming up, and with Johnson Bridge, looks like it's gonna be what it is for the next 2 months, if not sooner. We're gonna press you on that to make it sooner. What can we do on Fleet Bridge? Make sure it's safe, but also get loads across.
Can I comment on
Sure.
this? I had quite the extensive conversations with the outfit and pier when we were up there last week. And the options are there. You look at a lot of these structures that the DOT, it's been brought up that, it's been suggested by the public to look into it as turning this into a one-lane bridge. The option is there to look at it that way. The more or less the fact of their concern is the length of the structure compared to other structures that have gone to one lane. You may be looking at a 120-foot structure compared to a 450-foot structure. The likelihood of two vehicles following right behind each other or higher on a longer structure, obviously. And that's their concern on this length. And then I talked with Cody also about in regards to the old way that the structures were rated and the new way that the structures are rated. And the claim was said that, there's not much difference. So I think that's the direction I think we need to point Clark in. At this point in time, without extensive traffic control design out there to try to limit that bridge to a one-lane bridge is infeasible, so to speak, just because of the pure and simple length of that bridge, the physical length.
What did the state recommend?
The state recommended that we can look into either way of either of these methods are, not one is preferred over the other. It's based upon the fact of this is the newest method that these structures are rated at.
And that comes from where again?
That comes from the Federal Highway Administration. And we can look at it either way, but the claim that he said is it's probably not going to change it, drastically. You're not probably going to see an 8 to, or even a 7-ton difference. So I guess it's something I think that maybe we possibly need to have Clark look at, and if they're comfortable with the recommendation, because in the end, they're the ones that have the qualified staff to perform these recommendations according to the Federal Highway Administration.
How long is Fleeks Bridge?
I think it's 454.
Yeah,
454 feet?
correct.
Brian, there's load limit signs right on the bridge. Are there other load limit signs prior, like say half a mile back or a mile back?
Yep. According to the Federal Highway, when we post these bridges, we need to post each structure at the nearest intersection also. So you have the signs directly at the bridge, and then you also have the signs on this particular structure. They're at 444th, which is the Walshtown Road, and East Side Drive.
Yeah, because there was an individual that got a $28,000 fine coming across the Fleet Bridge, and he went across, a little prior, and they didn't know it was changed, so.
Well,
He was also 17 tons overweight.
Yeah. It would have helped if he'd have known about it, maybe, we don't know.
17
$28,000 is a lot of money.
17 tons overweight is a lot of stress on a bridge.
Yeah.
One of the things we did learn up in Pier this past week is once they start going overweight, maybe Adam can touch on this a little bit better than I can since you have the experience, but it exponentially damages the bridge once it starts going over those weights.
Right, and I like the example of the paperclip. You bend it just a little bit, and there's no harm done, but once you start bending it a lot, sooner or later it'll break. And that's what these overweight loads do to bridges. One overweight truck, or the first one I should say, is not necessarily going to bring down the bridge. It's the 10th one or the 20th one or the 30th one after all the damage has been done already. It's safety, and we're trying to prolong the life of the structure.
Any other questions in regards to the Fleeks Bridge at this time from the commission?
Is there any way that you could project how much before you found that the cracks in the Johnson Bridge, that they actually were cracked?
Not accurately, no.
But I think I kind of heard you saying when one cracks, then that weakens the next one, and that cracks, and then the next one, so
Right.
it's kind of concerning because if our next inspection was scheduled for a year later than it was, it could have been just a pretty serious accident.
Adam, when was the last inspection? Is Johnson on annual or biannual?
Biannual.
Biannual.
Did you do that, or was that?
This was my first time, or my company's first time looking at Johnson's Bridge.
With everything going on now with Johnson Bridge, will that be on an annual cycle?
We haven't talked about that yet. I think retrofitting these 3 splices doesn't necessarily mean that we need to inspect it every year. We could.
And Fleeks, is that annual?
Fleegs is annual.
And you haven't found any cracks anywhere on that one?
Not structurally significant cracks.
Will we see you at the next meeting with some recommendations on Fleeks and Johnson? Will we be able to get those both in? Or,
Yeah, we should have me on the agenda. Hopefully for Johnson's,
maybe we have a meeting before that, but
Yeah, especially.
hopefully for Johnson's, I'll have a change order to present. Fleegs, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about. Depends on how Johnson Bridge goes.
like I said, if you get something sooner on Johnson Bridge, let Brian know. And if we need to get a special meeting, we'll get a special meeting, so. Right now, you're submitting all your reports per protocol to Brian, and then he provides those to the commissioners, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Any other questions?
Do they have a date set up when they'll do the actual repair on the Johnson?
They do not.
Anything else on Fleegs or Johnson Bridge for questions from the commission? All right. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Brian, 449th Street, full depth reclamation.
The contractor that performed the full depth reclamation on 303 earlier this year kind of put a bug in my ear as far as he had some opening in time to be able to perform the work on 449th, and we would be paying this year's bid price for that project in 2019 out of the 2019 budget, and he does understand that. I guess more or less, I just wanted to inform you. I don't know if we need a motion on this, but since we're paying it out of next year's budget, it would be at that time, I guess, I don't know exactly if I need a motion on this.
It won't be out of this year's budget.
It will not be out of this year's
No,
budget.
then
And I guess with inflation and everything else, we probably get a better price if we get it done using 2018 price versus 2019 price, correct?
Correct.
How many miles on that full depth over there?
4,
Four.
an additional 4.
Will we be able to do that full depth this year and then be able to, is the next step to chip seal it like we've done on 301?
I currently don't have it in the budget or in my 5-year plan, I should say, for the chip seal next year. I'm looking into switching a couple things around to see if I can't match those dollars, but then there again, it would take away from other parts of the county, so.
449th was going to be in the 5-year plan somewhere, right?
It was planned for 2019,
Okay.
The full depth reclamation.
the full depth reclamation,
Chip seal would have been what?
and chip seal would have been in 2020.
Four 49th and 301, it's a T essentially, isn't it?
T intersection at that point.
I think it'd make a lot of sense if we could chip seal them at the same time. Save some time and effort if possible.
And maintenance wise, you know, if I'm maintaining one, it's right there for the other also, as far as snow removal and routine grading.
When would you guys start the full
We've
depth?
started hauling some gravel out there to patch up some of the patches, and we've started hauling some gravel out there to transition into this. The contractor's estimating now with the rain delays he's expecting this week, it'd be possibly the end of next week, beginning of the week after. He would come in and perform this work.
Do you have haul routes for this gravel?
We have, we've been using coming out of one of our pits on the east side of the Jim River because we can't cross the Jim River. We have been using 303 as one of our primary haul routes and Walshtown.
Okay, thank you.
Brad, when you haul rock, gravel, dirt in the county trucks, do you weigh them every trip, every load?
Our loader has a scale on it, and each truck weighs a little bit different, obviously. But we get a tare weight, you know, from that truck, and we load them accordingly.
And how often is that scale calibrated on that loader?
Every year,
When was the last time it was calibrated?
May,
Okay.
So what you're saying is we're hauling legal loads.
correct.
Thank you. So
And
with
we have cross-checked our trucks also, and we also had the carrier enforcement come in and help us axle those trucks out to make sure that we are loading them accordingly to what lengths they are, so not exceeding a bridge weight.
So going back to the full depth reclamation on 449, I don't think you have any objections from the commission. Is there any objections from the commissioners at all? I don't.
It's only 4 miles, you're only going to 301, you're not taking it all the way up to 300? I mean, it's.
No, 449 goes from 305th Street, or 305th to 301.
Oh, this is wrong.
My question is, make sure we get everybody notified. I know you do a very good job of working around, whether it's planting or harvest or whatever else, so I think that's the biggest thing, we communicate to the people that you live on that road. Because once they start this, the reclamation and the grinding and repacking it down, what's the turnaround time for them to get that 4 miles done?
2 days.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fairly quick, and they also keep it open on one side of the road to allow for passing traffic, but there again, this time of year, like you mentioned, you got larger equipment on the roads, and we had to work around that this year too with the late planting season too, so.
Any other questions or comments on this full depth reclamation?
Just one more question. Most of your dump trucks are a tandem axle,
Correct,
except like your side dump, that's a triple axle.
yes,
Now, do you have any trucks with an air tag?
no,
No, okay.
nope.
Sometimes that's the ones you get in trouble with.
Right, and none of our trucks, with the equipment that's mounted on the snowplow trucks, we'd have to remove the snowplow equipment to attach that air tag, so a lot of our trucks, it'd be a lot of work to.
What's the average empty weight of a 2-axle dump truck? Yes.
I guess, just using our lightest one is approximately, 22,000, completely stripped of all of its snow removal equipment.
And the biggest one?
Right around 26, 27, roughly.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the commission on the 449 full depth reclamation? All right, thanks, Brian. Just make sure you let everybody know about that on that.
Sounds good.
Living on that road and use that road.
All right.
Thanks, Brian. Next item on the agenda, Pat, Mission Hill Watershed District.
Okay, so in order to, we have received requests to reinstate the Mission Hill Watershed District mill levy. So, and this would be reinstated through the ditch board or through the county commission. I do believe it's the ditch board that would reinstate this. Do you think so too? Yep, that's who is. So what we've done is that we put in a notice of equalization, Mission Hill Watershed District. It's Mission Hill Water District Board of Managers request a reinstatement of Mission Hill Watershed District mill levy to 100% of the original assessment and the $1,000 opt-out to the Yankton County Ditch Board September 18th. The following properties were listed under legal description and number of beneficial acres as we install the mill levy. It was requested that this would be published twice, in which we did complete the publishing. And so we have met the requirements of the reinstatement regulations. And some of the members are here if you'd like to visit with them, and they certainly are welcome to come up and give any input that they'd like to too, as far as the watershed. Is everyone here familiar with that watershed? And what, so it starts out.
448th off of north
Yep.
of 50 that was
North of
holding a lot
50.
of
that-
water from the
yep.
heavy rain.
Comes down around, so it starts in Mission Hill, comes around 448th, comes down along 448th, comes out of Highway 50 near the Van Osdel Farm, and then goes into the old Jim River bed, and then comes out on the Missouri down there. So it's all within Yankton County.
Anyone that in that district want to speak on the re-implementation of the watershed? Okay.
Has there been anybody
No,
against it, opposed to it?
no. I've had no opposition either in phone calls or letters or any communication at all. What communication we have had has been positive, that they would like to get it reinstated. The process obviously will be the reinstatement, and the money starts to come in through their levies, and then they create a plan of work, which then they come in front of the ditch board again and say, here's our plan of work. And then you authorize expenses. And this, we've also authorized another ditch, which would be the Volun lateral number 1, has also, which we authorized last spring at the ditch board meeting with the multiple, and that will also kick in for payable 2019 also. So we'll get 2 more ditches active in
So
2019.
that's the intent here, is to get the levy in place before 2019?
Yes, and that, we did that motion last spring, so so this one here is the last one to get in. And then we wanted to do this prior to October.
So you need us to approve this action?
Yep, the ditch board does. So you do need to become a ditch board to approve this action.
Question. The ditch board is not on the agenda, is it? But the item is on the agenda.
The item's still on there.
Yep.
Okay. Can I get a motion to go into the ditch board?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, we're in the ditch board. And we have the Mission Hill Watershed District in front of us. I'll reopen for public comment, if there is any. There are none. Closing public comment. Pat, you stated everything's been published.
It's met the published requirements,
Legal
yes.
publishings?
Yep.
Any discussion amongst the ditch board?
So it's the, you said the mill levy, 100% of the original assessment and the $1,000 opt-out.
Correct.
Any other questions?
And they have their board of managers established?
Yes, they've done everything they're supposed to do. We've done the letters, we've sent the letters, we've had the board meet, and the board made the motion, and we have the resolution from the board that's allowing us to move forward.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion on the Mission Hill Watershed District.
And it just to reinstate, all it has, just to reinstate the levy for 2019.
And the opt-out.
And the opt-out.
And, I make a motion that we approve the reinstatement of the Mission Hill Watershed District mill levy to 100% of the original assessment and the $1,000 opt-out for
There's a
2019.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second, is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, we're still in the ditch.
Yep, that's a different board.
The appointed drainage commission, that's a different board?
Yep.
So can I get a motion to go out of the ditch board into regular session?
I move we go out of the ditch board, back into regular session.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, we're back in regular session.
The Yankton County Commissioners do appoint commission officers and commission members, and we are, would like to appoint a drainage commission member. And in front of you, you have got 2 applicants, and both of them are very capable. And so we would like to, and the county commission would be the one that appoints them, and you're appointing a drainage commissioner. Art Kotalik did resign. He had been a drainage commissioner for several years, but he did resign about 3 months ago. And so we have pursued, and now we have these 2 names in front of you, which would be Tom Bixler and Carl Shank.
Do we have a ballot, Patty?
That's the way we usually do it. It's just
Or just,
a sheet.
since we have 2 applicants, we only need one?
We only need one.
Wait.
Just get, we can write down our names on there.
Yeah,
Is there public comment on this?
if you'd like.
Sure? Sure, if you want to come forward.
Todd and Deb, I would like you to recuse yourselves, seeing as how you both accepted $900 for your campaigns from Carl Schenk.
This is for a drainage commission?
He's an applicant? Is he qualified as an applicant? Does he install drain tile? Does he know how many acre feet he's gonna drain? Does he know what size of drainage? Does he know when there's a perforated tube and when a solid tube needs to go in?
So my question then is, does either one of these applicants have those answers? Can answer those questions?
Are they in Yankton County?
Yes?
Carl Schenk is in Yankton County.
It's the address of Yankton County, Mission Hill, 308th Street.
Does he buy groceries here in Yankton? Do his kids go to Yankton schools?
Can I help you out there?
No, time out. My question to you, Assistant State's Attorney, as Drainage Commission members, do we need to know if they have kids that go to school and they buy their groceries in Yankton County?
I think the requirement is they have to
Reside in Yankton County.
reside in Yankton County.
Where does he reside in Yankton County?
44352 308th Street, Mission Hill, South Dakota.
Can I make that comment now?
Now you can.
If you run the tape back to one of the applications of Mr. Schenk, and I believe it was Mr. Johnson, he had his attorney represent him. His attorney stated, I can't say this verbatim, but I'll paraphrase it, that poor farm located at Mission Hill was his corporate office. Now, you can go back and check it in the record, but I distinctly remember him saying that.
So now we're appointing corporate offices as our drainage board?
I don't think I have any authority to say if it's a corporate office or not. We have two applicants in front of us here today that say they live and reside in Yankton County. They own property in Yankton County.
That is not my question. My question is, does he reside in Yankton County? And obviously, he lives in Dakota Dunes. The other question, which you're dodging, is, wait a minute.
No,
You gave me time to speak. Now give it to me. The other question is, did you accept $900 in campaign money from Carl Schenk? That is a conflict of interest to both of you.
I will ask that of the state's attorney if there's any conflict on a campaign donation that's been stated on a campaign finance report.
It is for Yankton County.
How is there a conflict of interest?
You're giving me very limited information, and this is obviously not a legal opinion based upon about 3 sentences, which may or may not be true. I think the issue here, I don't believe the drainage board is a paid position.
Not to my knowledge.
I don't even think they get paid per diem or anything per meeting. I suppose if
Pat?
there's some travel,
They get,
maybe.
it's a $25 per diem.
Okay. With that limited information, I don't believe that's a conflict of interest. It's been disclosed. If there's questions from the public about whatever's been disclosed on your campaign finance disclosures, I mean, that's all public record.
Yes, it is.
Learning about drainage is a huge learning curve. You could at least put somebody on there that installs drain tile.
So here's my question. If they don't apply, how can we put them on there?
Seek them out.
I think if you talk to township boards, I think you talk to many other boards, for people to volunteer is a challenge. I think you can talk to many people, whoever's on the township boards here in Yankton County. Once they're on a township board, the only time they come off a township board is after their funeral.
There's a lot of problems inherent to a drainage board. One of them is, what are you're talking about fields that may adjoin your neighbor.
Thank you.
You're telling me when I'm done?
We are closing the comments right now. Any other public comment on this?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think there's anybody, I mean, we've always advertised for members of these various boards.
Pat, whether it's the Drainage Board, whether it's the Planning and Zoning Commission, whether it's the Weed Board, or whatever else is out there, we advertise and people volunteer, and this is the process in place, correct?
Yes. I think it is the process in place. When we've been asked, you know, do you pursue or do you go out and ask people out there, do they want to be on the board? I will be honest, we're having a harder and harder time getting people to want to be on the board. And I kind of have I know some reasons why. It's difficult to do it. If people are willing to step up, the rules are the rules, the ordinance is the ordinance, and everyone has to work their way through that process. So when you talk about inherent things within drainage and things, our zoning ordinance is trying to address those as well as possible. Any person that could come on board, either one of these candidates could be good candidates to become good drainage commissioners. I have learned a couple of things about people that get on boards. It isn't always their immediate knowledge that they know, it's their drive. It's their ability to come and be when we call for that meeting and they come. Nothing's worse than coming to some of those meetings and not having a quorum. And I know that both of these individuals will be very dependable and they will come. And that's a huge factor in these boards. And beyond that, learning curves are very real and we will all work our way through them. But we can't force people to come in and do it. Believe me, I've asked almost 10 people, and we're not in a very good way right now with people's perception of our public meetings. And so they're being protective, and they've respectfully declined. So I'm grateful we have 2 of them. So that way we can maintain a full board.
How many are on our board?
7,
So this will fill the board at 7.
yes.
Any questions of the commission? Go ahead and submit your vote.
Patty, I got my paper, lost my paper. I wrote it down. Okay.
Shank 1, Bixler 3.
Okay, I will inform Mr. Bixler of his appointment, and we will inform Mr. Shank of our respect for his signing up for it, and we will now have a drainage commission all filled up.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda, vacate of section line. Brent Atchesky. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I know this is taking a little bit of time. We got all the easements in place now, Eric?
Looks like it.
Okay. And Patty, we have all the requirements made of, in regards to the petitions being signed? And this is on the north side of the property?
Yes, correct.
Any questions?
There's
Brett?
a reluctant date on this one here.
That was the date from the notary.
Probably the
It was
18th.
just today. He
All,
got 'em
all 3 of them were today.
Okay. Who was the notary on Isness? Do you know? I
It's
can't
from-
read that. Is it a Riken maybe?
It was from the medical clinic, I'm not sure.
Just need to get that date in there filled in on this, then have the notary fill in the date when it was, it's missing that over here.
Okay.
Any questions at all from the commission on this? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to vacate the section line.
vacate the section line as requested.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
You need me to take that one up and get it redated? The
It's
the
just,
original?
Here's a copy if you got the original.
I think
This is the original.
Patty's got the originals.
Oh, I do have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to stop by and I'll get I'll give them to you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. Next on the agenda, request for county to assume maintenance on 434th Avenue, Mr. Huber.
I have a thumb drive with pictures. Can I
Yeah.
display that somehow?
It's supposed to be ready to go. She said it does not go to sleep.
Pat, can you be our IT on that laptop?
It's supposed to be, so we'll see. I think it just happens.
We have that.
Who knows how to run this computer?
That'd be Pat.
I want to pull up the thumb drive on that.
Presentation
It's over there on the left,
Uh,
on the
no,
left
that's not
column.
mine.
Okay.
That's not mine.
Okay.
It should be on the thumb drive.
Thumb drive. Let's see here.
Down towards the bottom.
So it should be like a computer. Wouldn't be under local disk. Let's see what pops up. Let's see, let's try this. Like you can get Windows Explorer up.
I'm sorry. it's just a-
You looking for the flash drive, Pat?
Yes.
Folder there on the lower left, to the left of the E.
Okay.
Well, too far. One more to the right. Click on that.
Okay. And it should be a thumb drive on there.
It's over on the
So where
left.
is it?
It's on the left.
Scroll down, go left.
Going down, yeah.
Slow.
E.
Is that one of those right there?
I don't see it showing up on there.
There you go.
Okay, the first one there. Okay. My name is Todd Huber. I live out on Sundance Ridge Road, which is located north of Highway 50 out by the lake. 434 Avenue turns into Sundance Ridge at the north end. My issue, well, the county right now maintains 434 up to where Sundance Ridge starts. They maintain up to that point. The issue that I have is that the motor graders that maintain 434, they maintain up to that point, and then they lift their blade up, and then they drive on Sundance Ridge Road for about 250 feet, and they turn around and they come back again to 434. They lower their blade and they maintain the road again. But they don't maintain that piece that they drive around on, that they turn around on. And so, my problem, well, I'll go to the next screen here. So this is what it looks like, aerial photograph. And you can see where the green line is. That's where the 434 ends. And then you can see to the north there's a wide point right where the mailbox is. It's wide enough so that the road graders can turn around there. But when they do, they tear up the road, and that's my issue. Let me go to the next screen here. This is zoomed in a little bit closer. Right at the top of the image up there, you can see there's a cluster mailbox up there, right where it says Sundance Ridge Road. And you can see that's where it's wider. The street
Was that
view-
made wide for the postal?
Yes, that was made wide for the postal service to turn around. This is what it looks like on the street view. And you can see the blade picks up right there and goes down, turns around by that mailbox, comes back in again, drops the blade down. But what it looks like when they turn around is this right here. The road gets all tore up. They go into the ditch, they tear it up. And I've got a variety of pictures at various times of the year. Here's one in the summertime where they go in the ditch and tear it up. Here's on the same time in the wintertime, or the same side of the road in the wintertime. Here you can see some more tracks in the area. This was taken this spring where they tore up the road right in there, right in front of the cluster mailbox. And you can see this is where the road is wide. And so I guess I don't really see a problem with the graders turning there as long as they would maintain it and put gravel on it. But right now they don't. This image was taken about a week and a half ago when we had that rain, and they graded 434. They come over the hill, come down here and turn around, tear up the grass in the ditch, and then I have to try and straighten that all out again. Here's another image of that. And here you can see the tracks of the motor graders. And here you can see where they go in the ditch and they tear out. It seems like whenever I get the grass semi-established, that's when the graders go through and tear the grass out again. More images of that.
So, Mr. Huber, what would you like to see done?
Well, what I think the county should do is take over that 250 feet of road, that's Sundance Ridge. It is on the 434 Avenue section line. It's on the right-of-way of 434. And so, and the other thing is that it really wouldn't cost the county any more because they're already driving on it. So they're not going to burn more fuel to get there. The only thing that would be additional would be the gravel that they would need to put on.
So, one thing that handcuffs the commission is a resolution that was passed in 1976.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, and here's a copy if you would like a copy. Essentially, we can't add any more roads to our highway department. It says, back in March 9th, 1976, Commissioner Williams moved, List seconded to approve the following resolution, whereas the county has added roads to the secondary highway system as a result of subdivisions being constructed within the county. And whereas it has become prohibitive for the county highway department to construct, improve, and maintain said roads. Whereas it would be in the best interest of Yankton County to decline to accept any further subdivision roads on the secondary highway system. Therefore, being resolved that subdivision roads will not be placed in secondary highway systems dated this forward. So this handcuffs us adding roads to our highway system.
So what is the solution for them not tearing my road up then?
So I think, when you sent us this email, I contacted our highway superintendent to see if he's been made aware of this. Brian, do you have any solutions where we can not tear up the road and keep Mr. Huber's road in good order and also?
Can I?
Sure,
use
absolutely.
pictures?
You bet.
One of the things that I looked at when I went out there is, we had our signing program done, and you'll notice that sign up there at the top of the hill. And that was placed on the actual point of where Sundance, according to the records, begins. I went out there and measured that off, and there's a house up there, and we can turn around at Bay Cliff.
So you would have to come on this side of the hill?
Correct.
And would that alleviate?
So that you would maintain up to the top of the hill then?
Well, we maintain up to that sign.
Up to that sign. And so the gravel trucks do just the opposite, where they come down, they'll have a load of gravel on, they'll turn here, and then they go up and they start dumping gravel when they start going down the hill, going the other way. So they're turning around here too, so they would need to
Well,
turn
prior
around.
to this, there was no established actual road. It was pure and simply just dirt roads. And I'm assuming at some point in time, they probably had, back in time, made this so they could turn around. We now have roads that we can turn around on.
Well, actually, I think 434 extended clear through there at one time.
I can't answer that.
Maybe there's an intent for it someday.
There was a road, I believe there was a road, well, I know there was a road through there, and obviously it washed out at some point, and they never replaced the culvert or ditch or whatever, because on the other side, like right off to the, where my pickup is pointed, if you keep on going straight, the road continues on the other side of the ravine.
You talk, are you,
You're
you talk
going
Yeah.
north.
towards us?
Yeah, this, where you're looking right there is we're looking south.
Okay.
And so my pickup is pointed north. And so 434 extends through there, but the reason it doesn't actually, isn't a road now is because it's washed out.
So who owns it? Who owns that property?
That's section line of 434.
Was it vacated by chance, like we just vacated the
I
section
don't
line
think it's
tonight?
vacated.
You know, the biggest challenge is out in the lake area with the development. The old commission in 1976 saw the inability to take care of the roads, all the development out there. I mean, I know my road where I live, that's a private road. And it's,
And Sundance Ridge is a private road
Yeah.
too, as soon as it veers off. This is actually, my pickup is sitting on section line right there,
Mhm.
and is the old 434 road. So I guess if it hasn't been vacated, wouldn't it still be an obligation for the county to maintain it yet?
not if it's run, is it on our highway system?
Sundance Road is not on our
But
highway
how about
system.
434?
434 is, yes.
North of there or just to?
Just to, according to what the record showed, that was where 434th ended. Now, we also have 434th north of there, and that ends also
Is that at Kaiser?
434th and Kaiser Roads.
Explain the process to us and Mr. Huber in regards to the highway system, in regards to how do we report that, where do we get the records, or where do we report the records to? Maybe that'll help, maybe shed some light on this.
The reports all go to the South Dakota Department of Transportation. Just like we worked through with the city last year on West City Limits Road, all of those reports are filtered through, and they have, or should have, all the records in the county.
So the DOT has all of our roads that are on our highway system, and if roads have been vacated or no longer on there,
They're
that's where that
taken
record
off.
comes into.
Yeah.
And that's where I think maybe some of this confusion comes into place.
Could we go back to the overhead view of the terrain? Go back. I think, the other way.
So this is where 434, if you keep on going straight on that, 434 will start right again after that ravine. Where you see the mailbox there? There's a big ravine right now.
That's the old section line right there.
Yep, that's where the bridge, I think a bridge or a culvert was in there at one time. That's all gone now, but there's, the start of the road again is right over the edge of that ravine.
I guess
And-
okay.
oops.
What, too far.
There we go.
Okay, I'm looking at the section line there, and I don't know why the mailboxes got put where they did, but does the section line, I mean, is it possible that 434 runs the same thing as Sundance Ridge right to that green line? I mean, that's what it kind of looks like to me.
That image came from Beacon, I believe.
Yeah, it came from Beacon, it did, yes.
Without having a survey done, much like we did with our signing program.
But right through here,
Just a question.
right through here is where 434 used to extend through. And if you look over here, there's remnants of 434 back here. And if you go up here further, you can see it's in better shape. And then finally, when it hits Kaiser Road, then it's full-fledged 434 again. So the part that I'm talking about would actually be the old 434.
But it's currently Sundance Ridge.
So,
But I guess the sign could get moved over here, I guess. Sundance Ridge sign could go right there.
so the sign that are placed up there, is it just placed wherever we think, or is it located by GIS, or?
It's located according to GIS software and, you know, a surveyor goes out and sets.
So it's essentially
yeah,
where the pins are and where the property lines start and stop?
or measurements then from the courthouse records or things like that.
Because you want the county, Mr. Huber, to take care of that,
Well-
essentially that corner to the mailbox?
Yeah, I guess one thing I'm wondering, like, if he turns around at Bay Cliff, right here's Bay Cliff. So that means that this piece from here to here would not get maintained then?
Is that,
Approximately about 50 feet between Bay Cliff and that sign.
What?
or you, use the mic, Brian.
There's approximately 50 feet between Bay Cliff and that sign.
Looks like it's,
But if you look
Let's-
back here at the image, and if you go out there and look at it,
I don't think I have any picture of Bay Cliff.
well, you have the sign there.
Yeah, that's the Sundance Ridge sign right there.
Got a question. That area where they're turning around, who owns the land on each side of it?
I own the land, well, it's the development, Sundance Ridge Development, which is what I developed, is on the west side. And on the east side, I believe that's Kneifel right now. Either Kneifel or that's part of Bay Cliff.
And this area's been vacated by the county, is that
No,
correct?
I don't think it's been vacated.
We don't know for sure.
It is not.
It is not, the section line's not vacated, but the road is just not on the highway system, which goes back to this 1976
Well, the
resolution.
434 is still on there.
Just to that point, Brian?
Correct.
434 to that point, there's a lot of county roads on the east part of, or west part of the county that have been abandoned or minimum maintenance or not, are taken off. I know when I go pheasant hunting, road hunting, I come across bridges that are no longer there. There may be still section lines, but they've been taken off the highway system.
So,
is your driveway paved?
no.
I was gonna say they can back up and turn around your driveway.
So Brian, your solution was to turn around
He's talking-
back by the sign?
He's talking about turning around right here. That's Bay Cliff.
That Bay Cliff.
That goes right there. You can see Bay Cliff Drive.
I guess we've been maintaining at least past his driveway for sure, correct?
Past Bay Cliff.
Well, I don't know, yeah.
Is that's not your house there you're
No,
pointing
it's
to?
Oh,
not my house.
I'm
It's
sorry,
my
I
house.
thought that was your
That's
house.
No, and right there, the mailbox is like right there. And so if he turns around here, then there's a portion in here that won't get maintained, that is 434.
Is there a way to maintain that, Brian, and not turn on Mr. Huber's development?
Not currently with the equipment we have. I mean, we're turning a 30-foot motor grader around.
Got a question for Brian. You said it's about 50 feet, this area that we're turning around in?
250 feet.
250.
Right.
How many yards of gravel would it take to drop on that, to make it?
I'd have to figure it out. On the spot,
20 yards? 30
I'm
yards?
not sure how I don't know. Without going out there and looking at it, holding up a weight of a 20-ton machine isn't like just putting 2 to 3 inches of gravel on the ground.
Can you get back to me on that? I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You can, okay, thank you.
My only reservation is just that there is ordinance resolution on the books not to add any more miles of road, even if it's 250 feet. all of a sudden we'll have developments coming in and asking us to add their 500 feet, and then let's expand to another distance. I understand it's only 200 feet, it's a very small amount, but all of a sudden you have the snowball rolling downhill, and we have limited funds right now for our roads and bridges the way it is.
I guess what I see that's different is that since this is on the section line and it hasn't been vacated, this is still county road right there, even though the sign's up on the hill.
I guess I would ask to see if it's in the county highway system. If it's on the county highway system now,
Secondary road system or whatever.
well, the county highway system that's on the books, if it's on the county highway system, then I don't have any objection.
Okay.
But if it's not, then that's where this ordinance or this resolution comes into effect.
And, you know, like the one concern, like I was saying before, the concern I have is he's turning around here. It's very narrow right in here, and it's been cut, the road's been cut down, so there's like a high ridge on both sides. And I can see where it would be almost impossible to turn around right there with a motor grader. You know, you said it's 30 foot. And so, like I said, I don't really have a problem with them coming down here and turning around here. It's just that I think they should be maintaining it if they are. If they're gonna tear it up, then they need to maintain it. And like I said, it's on the section line right there. You can see where the section line goes, the line. So I guess, can that be investigated to find out if that actually is in the road system? And then if it is, then it would be maintained by them and by the county, and
We can look at that. Brian, get us the information on that, and you can get Commissioner Swenson his information at the next meeting.
okay.
At least
So-
to get that information to us.
So then I should get back on the agenda for next month then?
We'll put you on the agenda for
Okay.
the first
All
meeting.
right.
I understand the frustration.
Well, and you can see what the road looks like. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
you know, they,
With our road in our road district, it's been beaten, the daylights have been beaten out of it from concrete trucks and everything else. And I understand the importance of roads, so it's
and
just,
you-
it's frustrating.
And like I said, about the time I get the grass established in here, then it gets all tore up like that. And
Have you thought about, making a road district of your own homeowners
we
out there?
have thought about that, but we have not done that.
That might be another option.
But, well,
That's,
but then how does that keep them from tearing up the road though?
I see your point, Mr. Huber.
Yeah, because if I do a road district, okay, well then we're maintaining it, but the road graders are still turning around where they're turning around here for the county. And like you were asking how much gravel goes there, right now in that area there, it'll take like one straight truck. So I think a straight truck holds about 13 yards, something 13 to 15 yards in a straight truck. And so that area would take about 13 to 15 yards. And one of the problems that happens too is that I believe the county hires out the snow removal, and they do actually come down and they do blade that down to the mailbox. But the problem with that is that whoever they hire just blades all the gravel right in the ditch. So my 15 yards of gravel that I put on each year ends up in the ditch.
I don't think the county hires that out, do we, Brian?
No. We do not hire snow removal out.
I guess it's just something we'll need to make sure we're more aware of, not to,
It's a small like truck or small pickup that does the bleeding.
So you kind of answered my question there. 15 yards of gravel would make that usable.
Right.
Okay.
Do you put that on yourself each
Yes, I
year?
do.
Okay. So that
Yeah.
has had gravel on it, but
Oh, yeah, many times. And like I said, when they come through, all that gravel ends up, by springtime, the gravel's gone again because it's all pushed in the ditch. And you can actually see over here right below the snow there's gravel in the ditch there that used to be on the road. And, I mean, they do a great job of keeping the snow off the road, but when they take the snow off, they're also taking the gravel off the road.
so we'll get some more answers for the next meeting.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Mr. You want your flash drive?
I think you took it out. You gotta close the program.
Go ahead. Yeah, just a second. You go save there. Oops. Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Pat, you want to shut the PowerPoint off too? All right, next on the agenda is the life insurance from Aflac and Wellmark. And I know we've seen presentations from both. Is there anything new either of you would need to present in regards to this? Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and just start. Thank you very much for your time. I wanted to make sure that I passed out to you guys. We just conducted enrollment for benefits for Aflac. And here is the enrollment report for our tax benefits, so that you can kind of see. I feel kind of bad. We always show this stuff to Patty and Karen, but I don't think we do a very good job of making sure you guys know exactly what we're doing. There you go. So as you can see, what we did is we took the tax benefit for the employer per year, which we've been able to save $3,465.40 for Yankton County. But even more importantly is the tax benefits that we are able to provide for the employees per year, which is just shy of $10,000. So we wanted to make sure that we let you know that even though this was kind of a rebuilding year because we lost Daisy, and I'm not Daisy, and nobody could be Daisy, we were able to really get in there and get a lot of good information from the employees. The pre-tax plan is great because then it ends up saving you guys money and it saves the employees money. We rolled out the AD&D coverage that you guys had said yes to, and we had pretty much 100% participation with the exception of one of those who sat down in front of us. So we wanted to make sure that you knew that they have been talking about that they love these added benefits, and they have even talked about, you know, what can we do more? And so this kind of brings us back to the life insurance. I think that this would be a wonderful aspect to be able to provide for them. And one of the things that we started to roll out that is important is that we are providing for you, Aflac is, at no cost to the county, an online platform that is going to help with the ease of administration of all of the payroll deduction forms and all of the salary reduction forms, so that it's all in one place. Even like termination letters or any other resumes can be put into this online platform and just streamline and make it easy. I did want to bring Jenny Jeanette up here. She is going to talk a little bit more about the specifics with the products that we have been talking about.
Last time we were here, you know, we had been informed by quite a few of the employees when we visit with them that they were looking for a life insurance quote, and we asked you if we could bring one of those forward. It's a benefit that we would provide through this platform. I know at the last commissioners meeting a month ago, there was some statements that, you know, we don't want 25 invoices coming in. One thing I did want to clarify that I heard at the last meeting also is that Aflac does provide you, I think you guys think you're driving a jalopy with our Aflac benefits, and you really have a Maserati in your hands. So we have a lot of things that we can do that, because of the different agents and the different commissioners over the years, that sometimes the communication isn't quite there. So we talk with Patty and Karen a lot in the HR or the auditor's office and let them know what we have. But we just wanted to let you know what we have as well. Aflac's, I worked in a dental a field for 15 years before I started with Aflac. And our plan is a full-fledged dental plan. You already have one in place. So there is one with Aflac already. It works a little different than Delta Dental, but sometimes it is liked or more accepted in some areas. You don't have to be a participating provider to use it. So there's a lot of advantages. They're both great plans, but I wanted to let you know what you already have. You know, the VSP vision that was brought forward as well. That is what is on our enrollment platform. That's something that we can do without a separate billing. billing. So this is lack of communication on our part, that we didn't bring forward to you everything that we can do. We're trying to answer questions in the time frame that we're allowed in front of you guys. So we just want to let you know some of those things. We sent you some emails on what exactly we can do, the digital records that we have on that platform as well. As far as the life insurance quote goes, we brought that to you last time. It is through our platform. We can do that as well. It doesn't have to be a separate invoice. So again, not any more HR work, but still through that platform that we have. If you look at it, the $10,000 quote was 37 cents a thousand per person on there. And so you're looking at the $10,000 quote was $3.70. If you're looking at a $20,000, it was 34 cents. So it's a little less per the 100,000.
Once again, this is employee-driven. I mean, it's up to the employees to...
No, this is something that when we visit with you about, that it's something that would be an added benefit that you can provide to help you compete in the marketplace, to put this benefit on top of what you provide for them. This is a guaranteed issue, employer paid. Right, to get those rates, and it's, like I said, it's a guaranteed issue. With the savings that we already provide for you, you're looking at, with the tax savings that we already have on there, that it's going to help out offset this. But these are some things that you specifically asked that we bring forward for you. It is an employer-paid benefit. We had kind of visited that is something that we're looking at. It's huge in the eyes of your employees to be able to have a life insurance provided, that where they don't have to go out and get underwriting, that they don't have to qualify, and you get that really low rate for them. And this is something that can be huge in the eyes of your employees without having to cost the county a lot of money, but it can really be an added benefit for them. And it might be the choice of whether they're going to work for you or whether they're going to work for somebody else, because you know the marketplace in Yankton, you got what, 2% unemployment or less? It's tough to find those good workers, and you've expressed that concern to us, and this is one of the solutions that we came forward to show you on that.
So on your page 5, it talks about basic life, volume, premium rate. Is the monthly there for every one of our employees?
What was given to us was a lump sum amount of payroll that you had, so that we did not we did not want everybody's strict salary. So that is based on your total payroll, and would be your monthly premium for everybody that you had employed at the time that you gave us the salary quote. So basically, it's 34 cents for the 20,000, 34 cents a 1,000. So it's $3.40 for a 10,000,
so that's
20,000.
34-cent premium rather than the 37.
37 is if you only go 10,000, then that drops 3 cents if you go to the 20,000. So 34 cents a 1,000, so you'd be $6.80
Okay.
per participant.
Okay.
Pretty reasonable. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Julie?
I believe you have everything, but just to make sure, I'm going to give you another packet, if that's okay. May I?
If I've got it all,
I got one already.
I have one.
Okay.
Unless something's changed.
Well,
I'll take
It-
one. I left mine at home.
got it. I'll just get one too. All right, when you asked me to give you a quote, I wasn't sure what you were looking for, and so the involuntary, basically paid for by the county in comparison, is a $10,000 policy that runs 25 cents a thousand. So each employee would be right around $2.25 for their coverage for a $10,000 policy.
225 or 250?
Excuse me, 250, sorry. And for 20,000, the cost is the same. Doesn't matter. And when you compare it to the one that is presented from Allianz, there is a significant savings there. Now, whether or not the county is interested in
voluntary or involuntary. I also have included guaranteed issue, employee whole life from New York Life, the company that I do represent. It is something that the employee would be responsible for. It is portable. They can take it with them. They can insure themselves, their spouse, their children, and their grandchildren without having to prove any insurability. So it is very, very good coverage, inexpensive, does increase in value because of the dividend, and another option. So I'm not sure what the county is looking for specifically, but I assumed you weren't looking for any more expenditures, correct?
Correct.
Got it, okay.
Well, I'm not anyway, I can't speak for the rest of the commission.
Well, so are there any questions that you have from me?
So essentially, the two options in front of us, from Aflac and from you, are both, these are employer paid, the ones we're talking about, right? Where everybody would be covered, it'd be employer paid, but there's a voluntary one for yours, Julie, where the employee.
Correct, and it's guaranteed issue.
And they take it with them.
Correct.
As long as they pay the premium.
Correct, and it is portable. Correct.
Which one of these?
Okay, the one on your right is voluntary, and the one on your left is involuntary. The one thing about the involuntary is that you do have to pay it, and you do have to cover every full-time employee. So
just for the commission's understanding, I conduct a department head meeting annually, or
Yes.
monthly, and the last one we did was in August, and talked about it also in July, about the insurance aspect, life insurance aspect.
Yes.
And the response I got back from the department heads, not only at the meeting, but also when I emailed them all, because some were not there, I only got a response back from 2 department heads that their employees were interested in the life insurance aspect. Maybe some got missed through the cracks, but I have not received hardly any feedback on anybody that they want the life insurance. Doesn't mean we can't offer it.
No,
But
of
I
course
just want
not.
to make sure that as a chairman and with the department heads, we do them on a monthly basis. 2 separate emails, I did not get feedback from the department heads, from their staff, with that specific question in there, that they are
Good.
interested. So I did a couple, but it was a minority amount of the department heads. Yes, you may, but come up here, Shannon.
Here you go, Shannon.
You're fine, you can stay right there. One of the things that I found that I had some issue was when we were rolling out for the enrollment, we did several emails to the department heads to try to get to all of the people, and that didn't happen. A lot of the department heads didn't get some of that information to the people that really wanted some of these benefits. I know that in the safety center specifically, they had spent some time with saying that, they're really battling between, what the benefits the city offers versus what the county offers. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that I do hear what you're saying, but I also know that I talked with some individuals specifically that said that would be really great, so.
Thank you. Any questions from the commissioners for either Shannon or for Julie?
No, I personally like the voluntary option for the employees if they wanted it, but that's some question. I don't have any questions.
No other questions? Okay.
I would, s-
Oh, okay.
will you just-
I just want you guys to know all of those products that Aflac has. They do have a voluntary life insurance. They have a term policy. They have a whole policy. These are the things that we would, that we've shared and that we offer, but that you obviously may not be aware of the whole platform that Aflac has. So if you're looking at streamlining and having one product or one billing, or you want 10 vendors in here, because I know that was an expression at one of the last commissioner meetings that we don't, that can be confusing. So just so you know that Aflac has a voluntary, they have something that can insure their grandkids, that all of children and grandchildren, those are things that are already available to you that you've had in place for 30 years. And so just so you're aware, same voluntary issue that we have, this was the guaranteed issue that we brought forward for you. So
I think the biggest issue is not the information, is the lack of having an HR person in the county to understand all the benefits.
And
that
it
gets
does.
put on the commission, it gets put on the auditor's office, so.
And it does, and to understand insurance, it would take an hour seminar, and I think Julie can vouch for that, to understand health insurance, to understand how they all integrate. And that's what we're versed in and that we know. And so to expect you to come here and give you a 5-minute presentation and say, hey, this is what we have, it's probably on us too for not letting you know all of these benefits that we have. But each employee that sits in front of us has that option. They have the option for dental, they have the option for vision, they have the AD&D that you put in place that Aflac funds for you. They have the option of pulling in that life insurance. They can choose their products that we have, the supplementals that are the accident and the short-term disability and those types of things. Those are all on your platform and on your benefit plate that you can offer to new employees coming in. So if we need to put something together that's a little bit more, more information for when they're hired so that they know that those exist, or whatever you'd like us to do. But that's a communication gap that we have. So thank you.
Thank you.
Rolling out behind.
Well, so as a commission, do we want to offer an employer, paid life insurance? If so, who? If so, how much? I guess as I look at this and the communication that I've had with the department heads, who we have to rely on to communicate to the staff, not getting a lot of information back right now, I don't think the employees want it, or the majority of them don't want it. I can't support it right now. Now, if that changes in the coming months, I don't have a problem with that, but right now, as it sits in the communication that I've had with the department heads, there's not a lot of demand for it. What's the thoughts of the other commissioners?
Well, I think you have to go with what your department heads have told you, and they're not interested. I too am hesitant to obligate the county to pay for something that the majority of people don't seem to want. So, as I said before, if it was going to be an offering, I would prefer that it be an option, voluntary sign up on your own.
It's not a lot of money, but still, it's just if they don't want it, there's no reason to pay for it. Don or Gary, any comments?
No.
Well, I don't think anybody ever wants to buy life insurance.
Until they need it, right?
Until they need it.
Right, ladies?
Nobody wants to buy life insurance. I never did. I sold it, you know. So I understand that, but I guess it kind of fits in as the parameters of, are we competitive in the marketplace with offering a package of benefits to attract good people? And but it does what does that monthly thing add up to? $30,000-$40,000 a year for
334, was it?
Well, if it's $3.40 or $2.50, there's 93 employees.
employees. It's
It's about $3,000 a year to $4,000 a year total.
it's just
I mean, it's nothing really, but
it's a pretty cheap benefit for.
well, if the employees want it, they report to the department heads, report to us. We can, I'm sure, take this again in next year, in a couple months.
Did they get asked if they wanted to be provided, or did they want to buy it? Because if it's something that you're providing, do they
I asked if there was any interest in it at all. And I've asked it on 2 emails on 2 different months, and I got only 2, maybe 3 responses total. So. Any other comments? You want to take any action? You can take no action.
I'd recommend no action at this time, I guess.
All right. Any other input? Thank you, ladies, for your time.
What about the voluntary?
At this time, without the interest, if there was, I had interest from, I recall the emails, 3 or 5 people total out of the 93.
And you have it
So,
voluntarily already, and you have the people that.
Yeah, I noticed that spreadsheet you gave us, or that diagram, showed some people had life insurance. Was that an option, their own option?
Yeah, they have that option, yeah.
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Thanks.
Sandy, we only have you behind schedule a little bit. I apologize.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
I feel like I always clear out your room though.
No, you don't.
Did you get a copy of the stakeholder resolution?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
It is strange, because a lot of people that left the room say the value is in tourism and in the future of the lake area, which thought there'd been some interest.
Yeah, it's about as exciting as potholes for some people, so.
That's real exciting around here.
Oh, you didn't say bridges.
Yeah, no.
So, I see you provided the resolutions, and the sample, the stakeholder resolution.
Yep. And basically where we're at is, well, like Bonholm County this morning indicated their intent that they would support it at a $5,000 level. We would bring this resolution back to them and the other counties with all the stakeholders listed in it. So we're not asking you to sign the resolution today, if that makes sense. But if you're ready to make any kind of intent or commitment or have questions, that's what I'm here for.
How many counties are you approaching?
I've talked to Knox County and Cedar County already. That discussion centered on applying for a grant, so I'll need to go back to those counties. But at that time, they were willing to contribute $5,000 each for purposes of that grant. But I'll bring this resolution to them in the coming month or so. And Bonholm County and Knox County and Yankton County. So basically the 4 counties on both sides, yeah.
If we would put together a number, is that essentially a pledge, or is it actually dollars spent in 2019?
Well, for right now, it would be a pledge because we don't have a timeline yet established. This month, the city of Yankton did agree to be the letter of intent entity that would get the ball rolling. These resolutions, the intent is to have all these resolutions put together and accompany the letter of intent. We still need more information from the Corps as to their timeline and budgeting process. And Friday we'll learn more information about that.
So all this money that's being pledged goes towards this $200,000 that you need?
Yeah, and that $200,000, that's yet to be determined. So it could be less, it could be more, but the range we were given was $200,000 to $400,000 for the entire study. But if you look at the legislation, it can be up to $3 million, but we're told it should nowhere approach that due to all the research that's been done. And the legislation calls for a 50% federal match and a 50% local cost share match.
Well, I have no reservation about pledging money to this cost.
I don't even,
Don or Gary, any comments?
Well, I think it's a project that we've been chasing for 30 years. And I think we're still where we were 30 years ago, essentially. A lot of things.
Sure. I was looking at a list of studies last night, and it easily takes up a whole sheet of paper and on the backside, and I was kind of scratching the surface. And the intent of this sediment management plan would to come to some conclusion with all that stuff that's already been done, and look at things that are more recent developments in the last several years. So we really, the value in it is if it actually does that, and we're keeping on top of that throughout the process. Because the scope, that's part of the process, is learning what the scope will be and working together on developing that. So we most definitely want this to be a value to all the stakeholders involved, and right now it's our best option right now.
I really have a lot of empathy for you because you're up against a brick wall all the time. I just want to make a suggestion, and maybe Mr. Woods can check on it with I guess our state's attorney's gone, but the people that use the lake, I don't have a boat anymore, but most of them come from Iowa, Omaha, all over. Would there be somehow that we could put some kind of a county fee that we could collect instead of just taking out of our general fund? I mean, it's just a suggestion.
Sure.
That
Well,
we could, and then we could give that to you directly.
Well, I think the long-term solution when it comes to implementation and the different research or information that's been put out by agencies and researchers working together on this problem in general of sediment is that some kind of user fee would come into play to fund modifications or whatever infrastructure improvements have to be done at these reservoirs around the country. Because right now there's really no identifiable source to fund these things.
I
But
mean, if they can afford a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 boat, they can afford $5 for a county fee.
have you approached the state? I mean, is the state at all interested in contributing?
right, they're on the list, and I believe officials within the chamber are assisting with that, and we've got cooperation on a lot of different levels to get the word out about this. And I think a major development was back on September 4th with the city of Yankton indicating their support. So it's still a matter of keeping up to date with what their line of thinking. I think it takes them a little bit out of their comfort zone because it is a pilot project, and we're all trying to decipher how to go about this. So,
Well, the Corps' intention is to fill the thing up with dirt.
yeah.
That's not how they were built.
Sure. And when you talk about other entities or people paying for it, I mean, it's not just Yankton County or the counties around Lewis and Clark Lake that benefit from Lewis and Clark Lake and Gavin's Point Dam. There's a big demand for getting the sediment past the dam and downstream. So we want to get those people involved, but getting them involved at this stage probably isn't likely for the plan development. But when it comes to implementation, I certainly hope that's going to be primarily a federal expense, but I can't guarantee that.
Well, to answer your question to me, Todd, is yeah, I'd support but I think you need a lot of $5,000 to make 200,000. Like 40
Well,
of them.
sure. And
I don't have a problem either I wouldn't have a problem even saying pledging $10,000 because that lake is that important to us in tourism. And look at all the houses that are getting built out there, the property taxes that generates. And Gary, to go to your question in regards to put a fee on there, only way the county can assess a fee or a tax is if the South Dakota legislature gives us that authority. So we don't have that authority to do that. it's a novel idea, but our hands are tied on what we can assess for fees or for taxes.
Maybe next time you go to Pier, you can kick it around with them.
You have a phone as well, you can reach out to your legislators.
I'll drive there.
You can drive there, call there, whatever. But I don't have any problem, you know, the lake I think is extremely important to Yankton County. I don't have a problem with that number being $10,000.
And we'll work out the details with you, and, I mean, there's options of sending it straight to the Corps, or the way the resolution reads, MSAC can hang on to it, and it would just all go to the local cost share, and when the Corps requests it, divvy it out then instead of all at once. Because there's different exit points. Sometimes studies don't get finished. I mean, that's not what we intend or want to see happen, but we're willing to work with the entities in drafting an agreement in the details as to how the stakeholders function, and so we're all clear on that.
You need a resolution today or not? Is that, what I'm understanding
Right.
is we do.
Well, no, if you could indicate your intent, and then we'd come back with all the stakeholders listed in the resolution.
So you just need a motion, probably.
We even need a motion if it's just an intent, even though it's not a resolution, then we formalize it later?
You're still mentioning dollars.
Okay. Okay, so we need a motion.
A motion
To, with the intent to, what's the proper terminology?
Pledge?
Pledge, that's what you're
I'd
asking.
pledge
Sure.
$10,000 initially to this project.
I would use section 1179A probably.
Section 1179 alpha of WRDA 2016.
Sediment management plan development, I guess, is the
Okay,
local cost share.
Want me to say that again, Patty?
it's just right here.
All that being said,
Wait, let's
Motion on the floor.
Let's get the motion on the floor.
I'll
Is there a
second that.
There's a second. Any discussion?
all that being said, I would hate to see us expend that and nothing happen.
That's, our full intent is to see something happen, and I can't guarantee it, but it might be one of those things that takes a few years to get through Congress and get implemented, and the funding to implement. But we've got to start somewhere, and this is the best option that I can present right now.
Well, we'll need to make this, we're in the discussion part of the motion, no more public comment on it, so any other discussion amongst the commissioners on the motion? Sorry.
We'll be back in 2 weeks. Okay.
Yep, or, yeah, your next meeting.
Just let us know when you need to come back.
Okay.
So let's vote on this motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for your patience, Sandy. All right. The next item on the agenda is the executive session. Before that, if anybody does want to speak in public comment, please sign the sheet in the back. When we come out of executive session, then we'll take public comments. Can I get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
So moved.
Is there a second? Deb?
Second.
Don, Deb? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Can I get a motion to go back into regular session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We're in regular session. No action was taken in executive session. Next item on the agenda is just public comments, and Patty indicates there's no one that signed up for public comments. I did add quickly on the end of the commission, on the agenda, just some FYI on the Commissioners Conference. And due to time, we can talk about that at the next meeting, but I would just encourage anyone, these are very valuable. You learn lots of things, whether it's about roads, whether it's about zoning, whether it's about Liquor licenses was one of the ones I sat through, so these sessions are very informative, plus you have a chance to meet other commissioners across the state and network and problem solve a little bit, so. Items for next meeting agenda?
I'd like to,
Todd Huber.
Yep.
I'd like to see, whatever format we want, Mr. Chairman, to discuss the hiring of the personnel manager, HR person.
Okay.
And I'd like to see that our public comment gets changed from the end of our meetings to the beginning. It was supposed to be at 5:30 for public comment, 6:30 now, so everybody left. And I think they left last time, there wasn't anybody, so.
No, the ones that signed up last time stayed to speak, so.
Everybody's was delayed today, so anybody that had a time is pushed back, so.
What else do we want on the agenda for next
We
meeting's
got
agenda?
roads and bridges. That's on there, isn't it?
Well, I think Brian will
Yeah,
send.
we'll definitely have Johnson Bridge on there, so. Anything else? I get a meeting, or a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?